Varane's a pressing trigger. People will let everybody, like, people will force the ball to Varane just the same way they force it to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And they're like,
now it's at his feet. Let's go. Let's start the break.
Let's go. Would you say that the Chelsea talent level is higher than Man U's?
No. And I've said this on this podcast for years. I think Man U.
You wouldn't like top to bottom squad.
Top to bottom, pound for pound. Man U has had probably one of the most talented squads over the last 5 years. Welcome. You are now tuned in to the EPB podcast. It's your boy Matt Marshall here with the unmistakable George Blamo, and we have a special guest in the building today. Actually, we're going to call him Imo's brother, Mr. Brandon Lawrence. Since we loved your brother on the podcast, man. We talk about his stuff all the time, but we're really happy to have you in, dude. You're calling in all the way from where now? Not Brooklyn.
Not Brooklyn. I am in West Orange, New Jersey. So
West Orange,
suburbs of the city.
In the suburbs.
Kyrie's hometown. Put some.
Who? Kyrie?
Yeah, it's from West Orange.
I had no idea.
We don't claim him.
You don't claim him? Okay, so the Earth is round where you are. Yeah. Yo, so I mean, you and your brother have just kind of been in the U.S. soccer system your whole lives. You're second gen Jamaican, right? And
yep.
And played through kind of a lot of the advanced systems, the ODPs, the whatnot. Just give me a little background on yourself. Like, how'd you get into all of this? Where did and where have you taken it thus far?
Yeah. So I played soccer through my second year of college. So I went to the University of Virginia, but even starting earlier. So I played. My first team my first club really was our town team, Cougar Soccer Club in Maplewood, New Jersey, Maplewood, South Orange, New Jersey. So played there basically until I was 12 years old or so. Getting started, I don't know. I tried all the other random sports. I did karate for a little bit naturally because my dad was like, you need to learn to defend yourself. I did baseball, t-ball, but just didn't really take. And then just started running around playing soccer during like lunchtime recess, and just kind of got into it. Went out to a tryout, and we had the legendary coach Gene Chesowitz, who was like a coach in Maplewood, South Orange for I don't even know, 40 years or something like that.
Okay.
And he kind of founded the club here. And I remember him being like at the training, I think I was like 6 years old, and him being like, you need to learn how to like pass the ball with your instep, like typical, standard pass.
Yeah.
So I remember I spent the entire summer learning how to pass against like our door in our house or whatever. And then we had I think we had our first practice or a tryout or something. And they were like, all right, we're hitting shots with our laces. And I was like,
wait.
This is not what y'all told me. This is not how it works. So like I was one of those kids that, you see the small kids playing, and anytime they take a shot, they fall down because like there's no other way to like hit a soccer ball unless you're like falling on your side and hitting it with your laces. So I did that for a while. So naturally, like I made the B team and I was trash. But slowly, just started, my parents got into it. My dad had us out, or at least had me out in the beginning, had us out on the weekends, just, dribbling the soccer ball back and forth. Like he'd stand behind the goal and just like chuck 4, 5, 6 balls over the goal, and you just have to hit them into the net.
Volley, yeah.
And I just got pretty comfortable doing that. And I went to like this seminal soccer camp. I feel like my first soccer camp, and I came back and I was nice.
Bro, it's funny. That's a funny story because that's kind of, I can't really remember, but that's kind of how I kind of remember my trajectory. Obviously I had older siblings who played, so I was always out on the field in the rec league. But when I talk about like when soccer got serious for me, I went to like one soccer camp, maybe I was 10, 11, in like Raleigh, North Carolina, and like suddenly I came back and it was like, oh no, I play soccer. It's weird,
exactly. I think it was like 7 or 8, and I came back and I could dribble, I could shoot like pretty well, and immediately went from still was on the B team, but and I'm sure, I think Emma talked to this, a lot of this as I'm sure you guys know, a lot of this stuff is like not actually about like who's the best. It's like whose parent is running the soccer team and who's friends of who. So I was still on the B team because my parents weren't really connected. Like my parents grinded. They worked like most of our childhood. So they weren't in the PTA circles or whatever, but like naturally, like they saw me on the B team and they're like, oh, we'll call you up. And slowly I got called up more and more. Just finally I got to the point where I made the team.
Yeah.
Naturally. And then that's kind of how I got there.
So your dad, not from your parents' background, were they kind of pushing you into soccer? They kind of got into it as you got into it kind of growing up. Okay.
100%. I think my dad like had played it in Jamaica a little bit, but hadn't really played it at a super high level. Yeah. My older brother, I think, kind of got into it while we were into it, but he never really played either. So like my brother and I definitely were the first to kind of get into it ourselves for sure.
Copy. And so then then you go play a couple years in college, and then coming out of college, I understand you worked with the MLS, you worked in the soccer space?
Yeah, so I went to University of Virginia. I played for 2 years. I graduated in 2009. So y'all know financial disaster.
Oh,
it was
the
worst
time to graduate
in the world to try to go get a job anywhere. So yeah, it was a lonely few years trying to figure out what to do next.
For sure.
So I ended up getting an opportunity to be a team liaison during, I think, the kickoff of the Red Bull Stadium. They had this like tournament where they had Juventus over, Red Bull was there, and there were a few other teams, and they were like, hey, you can come help out and kind of help coordinate practices, equipment, and stuff like that. Like, it was like glorified kind of like Gopher. Like I was washing jerseys, I was doing like all the grunt work, but it was cool because it was like, yo, this is Juventus. Like I'm literally like washing their jerseys in the stadium. So that was a cool experience. From there,
wait. How did you get that experience? Did you know somebody? Like what?
I forgot.
Like who is they?
I'm trying to think. I just remember. I'm not sure how I got the initial connection to the HR person that I ended up working with.
Yeah.
But yeah, ended up having a quick conversation with them, had to go to the stadium, do a like formal interview. And they're like, hey, we're having this event. We'd love to have you. As you all know, like getting jobs in sports is like super tough. It's like if you know somebody or you really grind from the bottom sort of thing. And I think at that point, being a former athlete, you try to get in wherever you can. And I was just like, all right, maybe this will be the start of something. So let me at least start here and do what I could. So I did that for like 3 weeks. And then maybe like a few weeks later, the MLS reached out after I'd sent an application in, and they basically had like a round of internships for various departments. So they have player personnel, they have marketing, business development, sales, etc. So I got an internship with their team services department. They basically, MLS is weird, is different, as you know, when you compare it to the other leagues, that everything is like centralized in MLS headquarters. So they actually had like an in-house team who was like a center of excellence for ticket sales, effectively. So they worked with all the individual teams around the country to like up level their sales team so that they were basically selling out all their games and whatnot. Wow. So I worked with that team and helped coordinate all of those initiatives for the organization. So that was like a 6-month internship, a good experience. What I would say, and even just going back to college, I think, you go to college and you're playing a sport, and then sometimes you can get this idea that you're going to become this professional. You're going to become like, I don't know, you're going to go pro or whatever. And like the academic side, the professional acumen side that you were probably supposed to be building over time just was not like a priority. And then you get into the real world and it's like, yo, I am way behind everybody else. Like all of these, like, kind of softer skills. And it's funny, I had, and not to be all over the place, but like, it's funny, I had a roommate, post college during like one of my first like real career jobs in New York. And one of the most astute observations he made about me, and I thought it was like so interesting, he was just like, yo, you've been good at a sport basically since you were like, 8 years old, basically. So you've been able to kind of just like ride that.
Yeah.
And you never really had to do the like,
anything
the like
else.
politicking and the like the social work that you have to do for other people to kind of move and shift in the world. And he was just like, he used himself for an example. He was like, yeah, he played violin. He's like, yeah, I played violin. I wasn't the best violinist, but like, I knew that like, because I wasn't the best, I was going to have to go to the teacher. I was going to have to make friends. I was going to have to finesse and politic my way to what I wanted to do. And he was like, you never had to do that until you got out of school.
Yeah.
And like, it's been a learning curve for you. And I was like, ding, 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 ding. Because it's been probably the hardest adjustment coming out of like being an athlete or whatever. But I actually did my last real like soccer gig. I ended up working for Opta. And you know, Opta like do all the like tracking, and it's so sometimes
like
you'll see
sports analytics kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
you'll see the Opta stats pop up during games or whatever. Like, this guy's made this many passes, this guy's done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And you like never really know like where that stuff came from or like how they ended up tracking it. So I ended up getting like a part-time opportunity doing that. And you realize it's like literally guys in a room and they're watching the soccer game, right? And it's like the soccer basically this program is overlaid onto the field, and you're basically like changing player names and changing player numbers, and you're tracking their passes across the field. So that's how you're able to like track the number of passes, tackles, take on.
Wait.
Fire.
Rewind. That's that's lit.
Fire.
So you're in a program. So when they pass it, you just press a button like, okay, Pirlo just passed it.
So like legitimately, like you're looking at your computer screen, right? And you have the game on behind, and the program is on top. So it's like you're basically like tracking the pass on like a digital field that you're tracking everything on.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So does everyone have a particular player they follow? Or how,
no,
like,
you are charged with your whole team.
Your whole team. Okay.
I would have my team, and I would be doing it with another guy who's watching his own team, and then there was like a third person behind who's basically like observing everything and making sure that like all the stats kind of lined up. And then there'd be we'd submit the game after the game was over, and then there'd be a checker who'd basically go through the game and would like fix everything. So it's like if your player position was wrong, if you had the wrong player making the wrong pass, they would go back and fix it. And those are the stats that went to the team so that they got statistics. Obviously, like it's a far more sophisticated now.
I'm sure
this
AI
is like
has
back
changed
in
the game.
2015. This is like something not relatively recently. This is what teams were getting at halftime to kind of track statistics. Now they have like cameras and the player tracking and all the like really sophisticated stuff.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a cool experience to see like, oh, this is how the sausage gets made. You have any of the announcers at halftime, like Man U's had 45 shots, or like New York Red Bulls had 20 shots and 4 on target, and this guy's had this many take-ons, and it's like, oh yeah, they're getting
it's
that.
It's Jimmy in the booth, just like swiping his
legitimately
feet.
like that.
He's like, oh shit, another pass.
Yeah, it was a cool experience, but yeah, man,
super
like
cool.
that's when that I think was my last gig in
the
sports.
space.
I mean, like I have a bunch of friends who work in sports still and have gotten pretty high up, but yeah, that's been my experience so far.
Yeah, it's funny that you were talking about sales, and again, like from top down, the MLS is like most concerned about like just filling the seats. I mean, which it's a business, right? It has to be, but it seems to seep into the coaching as well. Like it seems, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. It's like development versus winning to make money and to fill seats,
So it's funny, like even just going to the playing style in the U.S. and it's interesting, right? Because I feel like my brother and I come at it from different experiences. I think my brother was able to get a bit further into like the institutionalized kind of like systems. And I say institutionalized, meaning like ODP and the select teams. He was able to actually get further into that area than I was. The biggest thing to me it's just like the speed of thought. It's like the technical skills there. I think the ability to like the technical skills there, the physical conditioning is there.
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
it's the speed of thought. It's like everything takes 2-3 seconds longer than it takes in other places.
Yeah.
And it's like those small differences are the differences that obviously end up holding us back. And then from like the tactical point of view, I think and this World Cup was better, but one of the drills that I know some of the teams that I played on used to do. It was like literally like every person on the team or every person on the field to be connected by like a string. So it was like as the team moved, everybody moved together. It was like very much like a string-based system, so that you had to be connected to the chain. Otherwise, like you're going to be caught out of position. And the biggest thing in the U.S., or the biggest thing at least with the national team, in my opinion, is that dudes just be running out of place.
Just running,
like,
yeah.
The lack of coordination, I think, ultimately, like tactical coordination, and that's what gets found out. If you look at games like the Holland game you played in the World Cup, where it was just like, you're playing men now who have like a sophisticated system and can spot and take advantage of any mistake you make,
right?
And you just don't have the like tactical nous.
And it's not the traditional, right? It's not like, it wasn't like Holland came out there to pass the ball around and beat you. No, it was just kind of like, no, we see our man open in space. We're going to play one, two quick passes and then get through to Memphis or Gakpo or whoever.
And he's not just in space because he's in space. He's in space because your man took 3 steps forward that they should not have taken. Right. And like that's how they take advantage of it. And it's just like literally like 2 mistakes, boom, boom, game's over.
It does seem like once you get to a certain point or once you get the ball at your feet, it becomes a now what as opposed to
now what? Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to a like, oh, like, all right, I have 3 options before I even get the ball. Let me see who's open. Okay, I touched the ball. Now let me play it. Like, and I saw that in the World Cup a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, and having obviously like being a Man U fan and having watched Leeds twice now over the last 2 weeks, you see Tyler Adams, you see McKennie, and they're like fantastic ball hunters, like fantastic ball hunters, incredible like physical prowess, can get around the pitch, hard tacklers. But it's like when they get the ball, it's like they can be conservative if they have time. But if they don't have time, it's like, what do you do?
What do you do?
Sort of thing. And they run into that situation.
Right. Which is always, and I've always wondered how Pirlo became such a god in this game to be so, I don't know, like athletically mediocre. You know what I mean? But that is that. Like,
so, bro, growing up, you played with Bradley, correct?
So I played with Bradley.
Right, Phillips?
I didn't play on his team, but I played Michael Bradley. So I played with him a few times. Yeah.
So
is he in the New Jersey area too?
Yeah. How would you compare? How would you compare him coming up in that process to like McKennie and Adams?
So I can't speak to McKennie. I can't speak to McKennie and Adams because I don't know how they ended up developing, because I don't follow this generation like that closely. But like Bradley, for instance, I played Michael Bradley at the Teaneck Armory when I was probably like 15, and I think he's like a year or 2 older than me. He's not too far in terms of age. And I was like, trash. His dad was the coach of either the Metro Stars or Red Bull at that time. And I was like, this is like, people were lauding him like he was training with their team. It was like, oh man, this like 16-year-old, 17-year-old is training with the New York Red Bull. Like that's crazy. Yeah. And we played with him, and I was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Not that I was like nicer than him. I'm not in any way implying that, but I was just like, I don't get the hype. Like when you hear that kind of hype, you're expecting somebody outrageous.
This kid's about to ball. He didn't ball out on you.
It was just like, it was like he was solid, but I was like, I don't understand why this person's on this team. But it's funny. You fast forward, and that was when I was 15. You fast forward to 2010, I think, in wherever we were, South Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, this dude's the best. This dude's
best player on the team.
Player on the national team, like
definitely.
For sure,
definitely,
like bar none. And the thing, and I think Paul Newman, when he was on your podcast, he talked about it, and it was just like the biggest thing. The biggest thing you have to do in the States is like you have to play with the best people possible, and whether that is like you playing up or you going to the national team, or you going to England, or you going to Europe, like you have to get and play with the best people possible, because one, it's going to force you to mature, it's going to force that speed of thought that I was talking about earlier, and it's going to force the professionalism. When I think about me, the kind of player that I was like I wasn't as like saucy as like Pogba. Like I wasn't as like nice as like crazy tech. I wasn't like that. But like Vieira, where it's like if I got the ball, pace and power, I was gone. Like you're from a momentum standpoint, you weren't going to catch me.
Just going forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Just great at that and running past people. My problem is that like the professionalism side, like outside of soccer, it was like I came to soccer, like, yeah, I could get in shape, got in great shape, was a fat, like relatively like athletic dude.
Yeah.
And, strong, athletic, solid feet, et cetera, et cetera. But it was the like professionalism that you had to have like off the field of like making sure you're eating the right stuff, making sure that you were sleeping, like all of those things that are a part of being a professional that you don't think about when you're playing in club, which is why I say like you move to a professional environment, you move to a national team. And I had kids who were on my youth team. This one kid, Danny Zatella, he lived in Clifton, New Jersey. I played with him until I was like 15 years old, and then he got called up. He was one of those kids that made state ODP, made regional ODP, ended up going to Bradenton and living down there for a bit. And he was a perfect example of like solid player, great player on our team. Went to Bradenton, came back 6 months later. It was like, who is this? Who is this person?
Next level.
He lost 25. He lost like 20 pounds. Was super lean. Could run forever, and his feet were amazing.
Yeah.
And it was just like, how did you jump this quickly in 6 months? And it's just like professional environment.
Yeah. It's the same thing as kind of exactly what we were talking about early on, like that summer camp feeling. Like you can go to summer camp and then come back and then like suddenly you're a player. So no, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting though now in this kind of in 2023 where you've got like youth teams who probably have nutritionists now and kind of focus on that. Like there is a lot of sports science being implemented very early in the game. So now that almost levels the playing field. And so maybe, and again, we're going to have to talk to some kids, some more youth kids, but maybe now it goes back to like raw talent again. Like,
true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It could go back to like, yo, do you have the tech? Like, are you creative in your thinking to take it, like to take your game to the next level? Just because, as you said, playing fields level, everybody's fit, everybody's eating the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's less of a differentiator. Like for me, I man, if I ate the way I do now, then I'm just, it's just like you it takes you getting older to realize like, oh, this is the way you're supposed to behave. This is the way you're supposed to act as a professional. It's one of the, like, not a regret, but it's like definitely like, damn, I wish I had approached it in a more professional manner. And I think when it finally caught up to me was when I was at college, and it was like, oh, these are dudes who've like been living, breathing, coming from the national team, coming from being like, 1-2 in their state.
Yeah.
Like these are dudes that like live and breathe this.
Yeah.
And you don't go to preseason to get fit. You come to preseason fit.
Right.
You go to preseason to like learn how your team's going to play. And that's like definitely like a mindset change that I did not have when I went to college.
But to your defense,
Absolutely.
honestly, like just in terms of nutritional science, that type of information really didn't
Wasn't
come out
available,
until I would say 2012, 2013.
Yeah,
Because honestly, like even like me just playing baseball, the shift of nutrition like importance, and literally from 2010 to 11 was just like, yo, you need to be eating this much at this time, protein shake right before. So it wasn't, I don't think you guys even had that. You guys just went out and played. You had your programs that you had, your preseason. I remember me and Emil did your preseason program with the 800 meters, like but that shit was crazy.
Crazy.
And again, that was preseason. But to Brandon's point, I think even outside of that nutritional awareness, like I noticed, we played UVA a couple times, and I mean the year we did the best against them was the year they won. That was like 2008 or something.
Yeah.
Their program was just head over heels, kind of more involved than ours. We practiced, we practiced every day, all week. But it just seemed like UVA had a program, like
legitimately. It is like, and that was another thing. So it's like in addition to the prep that you have to do to like make sure that you were able to stay on the field and
perform,
execute and perform. you get to school and it's like a job. Like I came, and it's funny because like, you grow up with people and they're like, oh, I have piano once a week, or I have
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and I was like, I'm driving 45 minutes to practice three times a week,
yeah.
and then I'm at soccer games on Saturdays and Sundays every weekend, basically, like every weekend. I was like, job. But then you go to UVA and it's like, oh, you can't have classes after 2:00 because they own you from 2:00 until like 7:00.
Yeah.
And after that, then you gotta go
Video,
to classes.
that's practice, that's meals, that's lifting. They own you that entire time. And then the next morning, you could have running in the morning at 6:00 in the morning or 5:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Some days.
Yeah.
And it is a culture shock, or whatever kind of shock you want to describe it as. That's what it was. It was just like, oh, this is a job.
It's regimented.
So it's like,
it's a
you're
job.
not even at you're not even at college. You're playing soccer and you have classes.
Yeah, you're an athlete. You're an athlete who happens to be going to school. You're not a student athlete.
And now these kids getting paid.
Yeah, right. And now kids are making money. So yeah, like that's what I mean. Like there's just got to be a like, you know. So now probably my school is probably just getting into that more regimented. Like, no, you can't have classes at this point. Like when I was playing, like it was like there would be kids who wouldn't show up to training because
they had class.
Yeah, they have some school shit, and it was just kind of like. Yeah, it just kind of made sense. But again, to your point, you start to notice that there's teams around. And I'm talking about like not even the UVAs. I'm talking about like the Bradleys and the you know the Elons and you know and all the Florida schools. Like all those Florida schools were just popping out of nowhere, and they have. Again, they have acres of land and facility.
Time out, bro.
They have money. I'm serious.
I'm sorry. You said,
bro, Elon.
They were allowed to have
at my school?
Yeah, I'm bugging.
No, it was like there would be some kind of whatever the school. Maybe it wasn't class because then that would be like consistently missed. But it was just kind of like there was nobody who would raise an eyebrow to a guy going, hey, I have some extra work I need to do for school, or I have something to do, and we got to take school off. It's like. Yeah, it's like
at UVA at Penn State. That shit, you can't do that.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I can't imagine still.
Yeah, please, you were late for practice. Team was running for you.
You were running.
Like,
yeah, it was a wrap.
There's none of that.
Dude, I was late to my freshman year preseason. I was late to one of the things, and again, I just explained to you kind of the ethos of that team. But even then in preseason, my then coach was like, he had to put it to a vote to whether I should be kicked off the team. So it was really weird. It was like, it's real serious in preseason or for the freshmen. And then when we got into the season, it was just kind of like we were on the field with the band. And
so you was Gio Reyna.
I was Gio Reyna. No, I told you.
And you be hating on him.
I still hate on Gio. I want to know what your thoughts on Gio are. Do you know the whole situation? The whole
it's So I guess I'd love to hear. What are your opinions? I guess what are your opinions on the
team? Because me and George differ, and we've had
certified hater.
We've had I like. It's not that I'm a hater. It's just that like I don't. First of all, straight and again, knowing that I came from college as Gio Reyna, my coach wanted to redshirt me after my freshman year, though I started every game as a freshman, which was crazy. And then the only reason I didn't get redshirted.
You wanted to red? Is that possible? You wanted to redshirt you after playing?
After my freshman year.
How though?
How? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Would you have sat your second year?
Yeah, I would have sat my second year, and I would have gotten an additional year in my fifth year.
Because I redshirted my freshman year. That's the reason I'm asking. Like I've only ever heard of like you redshirting your first.
Oh no, like you. I think NCAA is like you get 4 years. You can because you've seen grad students play NCAA.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so I
stuff
guess
like
if you do have like an injury, then you could theoretically redshirt.
Right. If you have an injury, you don't play 3 games. It's like the number of games is like 3 or 4. So even your senior year, if you've been a starter for 3 years, like you get injured, you redshirt, then you play an additional 5th year, and then maybe you can make it to the league. So yeah, he wanted to redshirt me, and I was honestly, he got in like some kind of scandal, and that was the only reason that I wasn't redshirted my sophomore year, because he was and I had an attitude around it. But so I say that as a preface to, first and foremost, Gio, I agree with everyone in that watching him in those couple qualifying games and seeing his trajectory once he got to Dortmund, I was really on the bandwagon of, oh man, like this kid is skilled. He could be one of the best players in America. But he's nowhere near there, like visually. Like if you go and watch him right now, I was going to bring this up on the podcast. I'm a Chelsea fan. He didn't play against Chelsea. He didn't start.
I don't care.
He didn't get
You
off
still
the bench.
lost the bet.
He
I
didn't
don't
get
care.
off. Well, I didn't lost the bet. We got
you
one more
talking
leg.
about?
We have one more leg.
Y'all
It's
done,
Champions
bro.
League.
Y'all
bro.
trash.
He bet me Dortmund would beat Chelsea, but we'll get to that. All I'm saying is when you look at just the eye test, he is not at that level yet. Not even where Pulisic was when Pulisic was starting to get more highly touted and people are starting to really take notice. I think just because of the privilege of being Claudio Reyna's son, being the second person to go to Dortmund and kind of make some noise, he had already kind of grown this almost fake clout. Then to go into the U.S. camp and be, again, maybe an interesting young prospect, but like you don't have World Cup experience. You don't have really any amazing international experience. And
What are you talking about? He has Champions League experience, and he scores in the Champions
He's
League.
never scored in the Champions League ever in his life. We've already checked it, bro. I checked it. He's never scored
Yes,
in the
he
Champions
has.
League. You can look it up on the side. But he's never. That's what I'm saying. Gio Reyna has never. He
You
has
be-
zero
you
clout.
be hating,
and so
bro.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's all
love
clout
this.
based, and nobody.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was just talking about another player like this, where it's like I was talking about Graham Potter, the Chelsea coach, where it's like everybody's like, yeah, he did so well at Brighton. He actually didn't do that well at Brighton. He moved them from 16th place to 9th place. So all I'm saying is like
that's a good job. What do you?
no, it's not.
Yeah, but
No, it's not
Bro, for
no, it's not
Brighton?
it's not for. But that's what I'm saying. You're coaching Chelsea now. You're not coaching Brighton, so you don't get this.
Bro, y'all
and that's
trash.
what I'm
Don't
saying.
worry about it.
Gio Reyna, you're playing in the World Cup. You're not, daddy's boy at Dortmund. So it's the fact that he really isn't that raw yet.
Yeah.
You know, if this was like Rafa Leao we're talking about or something like that, you're like, yo, like this guy's gotta be on the field, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't hear anything about Rafa Leao's mad as fuck that he's sitting on the bench for Portugal, but you got Gio Reyna like acting up in training. So that's my
You make some good points, right? So it's like I obviously do think there was definitely like a privilege element there because you have the
Huge privilege.
legacy, and it's like you probably think you deserve like being on the national team and in that atmosphere. You think you are deserving of a bit more.
Yeah.
I do think his pedigree, having been an integral player for Dortmund, helps give him that mindset to a certain degree because
integral is where I'm starting to realize that is a little that's even kind of more clout based.
But I guess
he hasn't been integral.
But I guess it'd be interesting to know, like, I know this season he's been
Definitely
more so
not this
coming off
season.
the bench. So, and obviously recovering from injury, and like he's been a young player and he's had a bunch of injuries. But I even think like prior to the injury period of time, like he was a compelling piece of their team for sure. And I think he was like maybe not stats wise, but I always thought he like fit in on the field.
He
to,
fit.
Like, go to Dortmund and second best team in the Bundesliga and fit in comfortably and not look out of place means a lot when you compare that to like other dudes who are not playing, or either playing in MLS or playing in like the second tier of France, or the
or
championship,
Turkey
etc.
or something. Yeah.
So I do think I do think maybe the hype train that he had behind him was a lot. Obviously, like everything that his parents did and everything that happened.
That's almost confirmation bias, right? Like the privilege is seeing
exactly.
that his parents were so bold that they thought they could bribe, a coach, right?
But that is, and I feel like it happened. Somebody said it on one of your previous pods. That's American soccer right there. Like, you have a privileged parent who's like, my kid is deserving of this because of my proximity to leadership, to whatever.
Yeah.
Like
we've
this
been
should
here,
happen.
you know me, you're my uncle. I mean, Berhalter is essentially Gio's uncle, right?
Yeah.
Which is even more confirmation bias for me that like you've got a coach who's got a job to do, and you're my guy. I've known you since you were a kid. I know your parents, and you got all this hype around you, and I'm still not starting you. One, because you're not even as good as the best player or the star of the team plays your position, so you're not going to start anyway.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, it's everything that this podcast is honestly trying to dispel in this American culture, which is that kind of pay to play, privileged kids who've been with daddy and been in the system since they were 12 years old. I'm sure you've had your share of it growing up, like Michael Bradley, like you said, like even before he went to Europe, it was just kind of like, why why are you even?
Why exactly? It was like, why is this kid?
Why is this kid so highly touted?
I mean, like,
so that's my issue, is that he's just so highly touted without a lot of evidence. And even like, I'm still even willing to argue this like compelling or integral part of Dortmund. Like, I think he was a piece that they were developing well. But I don't, and I remember clips of him passing to Dembele. So he was on, he was on the field, he was doing his thing. But whether or not he was important, I told him the stats. It's something like he played like 86 games and he has like 10 goals and 9 assists or something like that. And again, it's not all stats driven, but I'm watching him. I'm very highly scrutinizing him now.
Keen eye on him now.
I'm very keen eye on him. So yeah.
How are you feeling about Chelsea though? Like,
dude,
thank you, bro.
So I'm glad.
Not even.
No, I know, and he's giggling, and I'm glad. Yeah, like as we come to the end, let's just go through the EPL. First of all, after watching this game this weekend, which I've just been deflated for a while, but
I'm not sure what's happening.
It's management. It's straight up management.
You think it's Graham Potter? Because I thought he had like incredible hype. I'd always been a fan of him.
Gio Reyna. He has incredible hype. He has the backing of this new U.S. owner who knows not really much about soccer. And I'm trying to get information on who is making these decisions on these purchases. Because, everybody's talking about the purchases. That's like the kind of smoke and the what do you call it? Mirror, smoke, and pony show. Look at this guy looking at me crazy. But the fact of the matter is, it has nothing to do with the transfers. It has nothing to do with the shakeup. Chelsea is used to shaking things up. Like that is
every couple years.
Every couple years, every 5 losses in a row, shit has to change, right?
Yeah.
And so to now kind of go from that, and to go from literally firing one of our best managers, won a Champions League his first year out, with a team that really wasn't an all-star cast. Yeah. It was kind of hodgepodge.
That's nothing new for you guys, though.
That's new. The only other Roberto Di Matteo is the only other person who did that.
And then he didn't get the job.
But we had a way better team under Roberto Di Matteo. We had Torres, Drogba, Hazard.
Torres is on his way out. What are you talking about?
He was there. I'm saying, what name a Torres on Chelsea right now? There's not a Drogba on Chelsea. There's not a Hazard on Chelsea. There's not a Fabregas on Chelsea. Yeah. Like all those other coaches had great players. We've got still kind of a young core, and it's a core of good players, but you need strategy. And when I watched Chelsea play, they look like how the U.S. looked in the World Cup. It was like, we can pass, we got some techers. How do we score? And we don't have that. And now we haven't waived him, but we've taken him off the Champions list. The only true out and out number 9 on the roster in Aubameyang.
I saw that.
He must
be tight.
Bro, I would be more tight if there weren't rumors that he was coming to LAFC. I just got season tickets to LAFC. Aubameyang, if you're watching, if you're listening, bro, come on through, bro. Come on through. It's love out here. But yeah.
Question. Would you say that the Chelsea talent level is higher than Man U's?
No. And I've said this on this podcast for years. I think Man U.
You wouldn't like top to bottom squad.
Top to bottom. Pound for pound, Man U has had probably one of the most talented squads over the last 5 years.
Defensively, I think we have them.
I think defensively is the only place you don't have us. I think when you think of Maguire, Shaw, Martinez,
should not
Varane,
be the first name out your fucking
mouth. That was y'all's captain.
Martinez,
Varane,
yeah,
Lindelof, yeah.
Dalot.
I don't think
Saka.
that doesn't match up to Reece James, Koulibaly, Badiashile,
I think it's better.
Thiago Silva. No, y'all's defenses are better. But when I talk about,
are you sure? The reason I asked that is like, this season, and not to switch it to Man U, but like this season is kind of baffling for me because it's like, yes, we added Casemiro, and
that's a huge pickup too.
Martinez
and Eriksen. Eriksen's
been okay. I don't even think he's been like too nice. I think he's been all right. But it's like, I don't understand how our team has gone from like trash, to the point where last year I was like, I might be done. Like,
yes,
I can't watch this. It's so depressing, to the point where like we are like out executing all these other teams. And it doesn't make sense because it's like the personnel is not that different.
The personnel is not different. It's coaching, bro. It's coaching.
Yeah, I know,
it's
but
coaching.
I guess that the reason I'm saying that is just like, I just feel like the talent level hasn't changed. And I felt like last year you had Liverpool, you had Chelsea, you had Man City. All of their talent levels, in my opinion, were far higher than Man U's.
Yeah.
And like even Man U right now, we have one world class player, like one certified offensive player in Rashford.
Oh, in Rashford.
I call Martinez a certified world class. I think Martinez is outrageous.
He's fire.
One of the
Really?
best
He's a
center
baller.
backs.
I think he doesn't. I think he doesn't deserve to start. That's crazy.
You're wild. You're
Martinez?
bro.
I think he is. I think he is class. I definitely think he is class. But I think.
Who should start in his place?
I mean,
Who would you put there?
you don't really have it just depends on your lineup. Like if you're going 3, he's perfect. But with just 2 center backs, honestly, I think Maguire is garbage, but he can be coached into being a good center back.
Sorry, man.
I think Lindelof is
Stop,
garbage.
bro. Please, I beg.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Man.
Honestly,
You know what?
here's
Please, stick to Chelsea, bro. Don't talk about my team
here was
like
the
bro.
worst part of y'all's because it wasn't Maguire, it was y'all's coaching. It was like David.
What do you mean?
It's not Maguire, bro. He starts on
Oh my
England.
God.
He starts on England, and England
Yeah, but
is
here's
fine.
the thing. So this is what people say a lot, right? So it's like people say he starts on England, right? And they talk like he's the English captain. He's the national team captain. Like he starts on England. He played well in the World Cup. World Cup game, like international games, completely different.
It's different.
Teams sit far deeper. Like he's able to sit far deeper. He's rarely under pressure. He rarely has space behind him. Like the international game and the club game couldn't be more different. And it's like a person that I love. Like I love Pogba. Like I wish Pogba was still on Man U right now. But the international game is acutely suited to his skill set. Like he needs space, he gets time. He can just ping balls around, he can beat people. Like it's perfect for him. Club ball where you're getting pressed left and right and you have to play super quick, and his penchant is, nah man, I think I'm stronger than everybody.
Yeah.
I can like hold the ball up and shield and turn away from you. Like turns himself into trouble. Back to Martinez. Martinez is like one of the best ball playing center backs I've ever seen. Like his passing unlocks our team.
And his height, bro.
And then
for his height.
Like,
But that's what I'm
from,
saying.
like,
He looks undersized. He tackles. He's a dog.
He's
But-
like you can't beat him. His timing is impeccable. Like Martinez is.
I don't know, but I've seen him be beat. I've seen Arsenal beat him. I've seen players kind of make him look like less of a, like and that's maybe why I'm like keying in on Maguire. Maguire, you're right. Like Maguire makes horrible decisions. He has horrible decision making.
And he's bad feet, and he's slow, and he can't turn his hips.
And he has horrible hips. Hips. But I think physically he is more threatening. If you're running at him, if a Cody Gakpo is running at him, if I'm Cody Gakpo, if I'm Matt Marshall and I'm running at Martinez, I feel I have an advantage. And again, Martinez, when he's blocking and interceptions, like you're right, like
And
his mind for the
that's
game.
where you lose.
And that, what, like?
Because a lot of players probably think like that, and he.
But no,
gets the
it's
ball
not thing.
every single time.
But not every single. He's getting like deflections every single time. But I've seen Martinez get run over this season. I've seen him get run over by multiple players, by like Jamie Vardy, by like he's not necessarily physically all the way there. Maybe that's it. Like he's just not physical enough of a specimen. But it's working for United. I will say that.
Okay, I will agree to disagree. I think.
Matter of fact, I'm watching your boy. Even though obviously we know the score of the game, but. If James Madison and Iheanacho made one or two of their opportunities, Martinez was like they had through balls. These were like wide open goals.
But what I would say in those positions is like I'm not for the chances that they had running literally down the middle of the field. That's not on the center backs. That's the problem.
Yes,
of
the midfield.
You don't have Casemiro. You're playing Fred. You're playing Sabitzer, and you're playing Whitehurst in the middle.
Yep.
There's that's not a trio that you get scared of when you're an opposing team.
For sure.
Play down the middle of the field.
I'm just saying when Van Dijk was at his best. It didn't matter, and that's been my argument for Liverpool. I actually think Liverpool like really is lacking in the middle, and that's been their decline.
Yeah,
but,
for sure, 100% is their midfield.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, like when it was like Van Dijk and Wijnaldum running and giving you that industry back there, it was like, how do we get through these boys? They're playing a high line up to the midfield, and we play a through ball over, and we still can't get past Van Dijk. And so I don't get that from Martinez.
Van Dijk at his peak is I mean, there were probably better ones before, but I'd say in the last like 5 years, Van Dijk at his peak is
the ultimate,
top
right?
Tier center back.
And it's just sad that his peak has been so.
I'll give
small.
him next year. I guarantee he comes back to full.
I hope so. I want to see him at that form.
He literally just came back from ACL.
But he was good last year, though. I think the reason he's looked so bad is like their midfield's so bad right now.
Their team
center midfield's so bad right now. And Fabinho fell off a cliff. What's the name? Henderson, who I can't stand.
Thank you, bro.
Got old.
Y'all.
Thank you.
Why do y'all hate on the man? Y'all don't like English ball.
You just said Martinez is not good, bro.
I didn't say he's not good. I said
you don't rate him.
He's not
hating on Henderson. I just don't. I mean,
I think Varane's your best center back, to be honest. And he's aging.
See, like that, I disagrry with.
I disagree.
If you watch games now, and the biggest thing with Man U now that we're actually like teams are starting to respect us and like having to like actually sit back. Varane's a pressing trigger. People will let everybody people will force the ball to Varane just the same way they force it to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and they're like, "Cool, we forced the ball to those."
Now it's at his feet. Let's go. Let's start the break.
Let's go, because like Varane's not comfortable passing. AWB is not comfortable on the ball for sure.
Now that his form has come back, you think
even though his form, like he's playing far better. What I think he's far better at is like positioning and like just intelligence. But still, like his feet are kind of just crazy and wayward and like not dependable, if that makes sense. You get Dallo on the field.
It totally makes sense. So as long as he doesn't lose the ball right and get countered on, like he's
true.
He's a top right back.
But he's fast. His pace is quick enough.
And he's quick enough to kind of catch up.
1v1.
Yeah,
exactly.
Y'all had a game against
best defender.
Y'all had a game against Crystal Palace that Zaha should have scored, and it was AWB.
Yeah, and he made that game-saving tackle. Yeah, he's
great.
Great for that. He's amazing for that. But I think the problem with that is that as soon as that athleticism dips a little bit, it's going to be over for him.
Well, so to that point, and again, I cited coaching for you guys as kind of uprise in form, but I'm also going to go ahead and cite Marcus Rashford. If Marcus Rashford's form dips, United goes kind of back to where they were. Like he's the great equalizer right now. He's the reason.
Yeah, I mean,
he's on another level.
1,000%. Like his form right now, he's never played like this before.
Interesting.
I think
he hasn't.
The confidence he's getting from the coach is super important because the coach is like, we need to pay this man.
Yeah, ASAP.
Business leadership, figure it out. We cannot lose him.
Do you think the rumors are true that he couldn't like get confidence with Ronaldo in the locker room?
I mean, it's a good segue. I think the challenge with Ronaldo, right, is like you want to respect the seminal players in your club. You want to respect the dudes that like put like not that Man U needed to be put on the map, but like Ronaldo put Man U back on the map when he came through from like 03 to 09. Like incredible player. The challenge with him is that like that ego, you bring it back into a locker room that's like forming, and he still has this mindset that he's the best player in the world, which he's not. And this mindset that like he's still able to do all of the things he used to be able to do, which he can't. And then you combine that with like the ego walking into a locker room, and we've all been on teams when you have those people that just think they're above it, and they're not. It's one thing if they are like they're above it, they're above you, like they're incredible, and you just have to respect it.
Is he not above everybody and everything?
No,
Brendan.
No, not a chance. Like Ronaldo,
is he not the greatest player who've ever played at United?
He's the greatest player who ever played at United, but he is not the best player on the team right now.
No, that's definitely not.
Brendan.
You can't. That's the problem. You can't have that. You can't have the mindset that I am the greatest right now when you are not, and that's what I think. I
feel like he just wants to score goals. I don't think he wants to be.
Brendan,
you know.
Let's.
But he wants to score goals. But like, here's the thing: the manager has a way of playing. The manager has an idea.
Now that's
like,
true. Yes.
The manager has an idea of like we press from the front. Everybody has to work hard. Everybody has to do the work.
Yes.
And play the way that I want you to play for us to be successful. Like it's a whole like cascading process
for sure
that leads to them being successful. And he is not good enough at this point. If you got Ronaldo in 2013, sure, you can accommodate. you could accommodate for like
Workhorses, bro.
Ronaldo's skill.
That's a question.
Workhorses.
That's again.
I'm at the level right now that the disrespect given to Ronaldo this fucking past year was up fucking absurd.
I agree with
We're talking
that.
about a man that came in 8 games late into this fucking season, Brendan. Bro, we would have been relegated last year. Let's be honest. Brendan. 24 fucking
I don't know about
goals,
relegated,
bro.
but he scored a lot of goals.
24 fucking goals.
He scored a lot of goals for a
We shouldn't have
team.
even made it to
that's
the
what I'm
round
saying,
that we
like,
did in
that's
the
what I'm saying,
Champions
like,
League.
You know, like there are some dudes who's the dude on the Knicks right now? Who's the guy on the Knicks
Julius
right now?
Randle?
Bronson?
Randall. Some dudes ball out in situations that are conducive to them balling out, but their teams aren't successful. Ronaldo balled out last year, but the team was not successful. And Ronaldo balling out this year would not lead to the team being successful. Look at the team. The man left like January 1.
Bro, he
Look
wasn't
at us
playing.
now.
I don't want to hear
Yeah.
that. I
Third
don't want to hear
place.
that.
Yep, no, but that's
wasn't
fair.
playing.
That's
He
fair
wasn't
too.
playing. Don't do
He
that.
left, but
Don't do
he was
that.
still on the
He
team,
was
not
not
playing,
playing.
and the team was still playing poorly.
He was still on the team, not playing. But it's one. But again, you all know
That
when you
presence.
have somebody around that is not interested in being a part of the team, not interested in listening to the coach.
And I agree with that.
Let me spin something
and
for
a
you,
huge
Bernie.
cachet.
Yes.
What that can do to drag down the morale,
Okay.
like the morale of the team.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
don't
like
think-
he was an albatross from an attitude standpoint around the team.
I-
Yes, he may
Brendan,
not
I
have
agree
been
with that.
playing all the time.
I
But
disagree.
like,
No, I agree with that.
Talk
But,
about like
but it happened because it happened because the brass disrespected him at the beginning. He wouldn't come to camp,
let me speak.
and then he became a cancer.
Let me speak.
Go ahead.
Bruno Fernandes is the issue. I'll tell you
God.
that right now. He is the issue. Because
be now.
as soon as Ronaldo came onto the team, right? You're right. His ego, but that's who he is, bro.
I know.
Everyone knows that.
But
you
you
have
accommodate
players that have played with him. Varane knows that. And they just let it rock. It shouldn't bother. As a professional player,
But
go
here's
ahead.
what I'm saying though: you accommodate the ego when your man is putting in 30 goals a year, 35 goals a year.
Yeah.
Like that's when you accommodate it. You don't accommodate it when he is no longer at that level, which is why
You
Juve
didn't get
was
the
like,
chance to though.
Thank you for taking him off of our hands because we didn't want to do the hard work of actually having to like force him out or not play him.
Well,
and deal with it.
That's where I think United was kind of on just weird. Like they just didn't like.
It would have
been different if Ten Hag had come in and been like, "Yo, Ronaldo, you're just not going to fit this system. Let's find a way for you to get out of here." I'm sure he would have been appreciative. Like,
but here's the thing: he all but tried to do like this is the other challenge. Ronaldo spent the entire summer trying to get out, and no team would come and take him.
I don't
believe that.
I don't believe that.
We released him in January. No big team
No,
came
he had
to pick him
multiple,
up.
bro.
Why is that?
He had multiple.
He said he had multiple. He said
Yeah,
he said
but
the
that doesn't-
Milans,
but
the
facts
Chelseas,
are,
the
if Ronaldo had
Sporting,
multiple
Porto,
offers,
they
he'd
all
not be
wanted to
playing
buy
in
him,
Saudi
bro.
Arabia right now. He'd be playing on another English team, or he'd be playing in another top 5 league.
Don't be surprised if he had Newcastle
Everybody saw
next
him in
year.
the World Cup. Everybody saw him with Man U in the first half of the season. Ronaldo is not it anymore. It's not. He could come to the US and probably ball out, but he is not at the requisite level.
And if it's anything I'm taking from you guys both, it's just honestly, this makes it more important that you have players who follow the DNA of the team, and the DNA of the team comes from the coach.
Yeah.
So to your point, Ten Hag is possession based and has high tactics, especially on the pressing side. You need players who kind of suit that. Ronaldo didn't suit that. Maybe De Gea doesn't suit that. Rashford is just on another level. I do think Man U have a lot of players who came in young were touted to be some of the greatest players. De Gea, Rashford, Wan-Bissaka even, and only some of them are realizing. I'm still waiting for Elanga to pop up on the scene too. So it really does depend on coaching.
He should leave.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the coach doesn't rate him, so I'm pretty sure like he's gonna get sent away. But it's funny. I made a joke with my friend the other day after the Barca game. I was like, "Yo, we went to Camp Nou and we balled out at Camp Nou." Like that for me. like,
that was huge.
Given where this team has been over the last 10 years, how terrible we've been. Like, the idea that we went to that stadium and we could have won like 4-1 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, yo, can I get ETH? Because he works for Adidas. I was like, yo, can I get ETH on a Man U jersey? And he was like, you can't put the coach's name on a jersey.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's how I feel about him. Like, we could have had Pochettino. We could have had Potter. I'm very happy at where we ended up, for sure.
I'm curious how it will end up at the end of the year and into next year. We're definitely gonna have you back on as the season progresses. I honestly I have Man U picked to possibly win this year. To be honest, we'll see what you know.
I think Arsenal and City are a little bit too far ahead. It would have been nice to see the Arsenal game with Casemiro in there.
Yeah,
I think we definitely missed him a ton, but like you could see Arsenal fucking good. They're fucking good.
Again, another well-coached team.
They're not gonna win though.
It's gonna be tough.
They're not gonna. I think City will catch them. Even though I was surprised at the Nottingham Forest tie yesterday.
City's not looking too good. City's not looking as dominant. Let's say that.
They're not.
They're still up there.
But here's the thing that's scary. I think they bought Holland this year, and obviously got off to this crazy start. And still scored many goals, but their team doesn't know how to play with him yet. Once their team figures out how to play with him, and it's just like, we actually need to like build our players so that we're actually creating one-on-ones on the outside and sending balls into the box for him. Right now, they don't really have dribblers aside for aside for Grealish. Grealish is the only dribbler. Mahrez is still there, but he's like not the same as he used to be, at least. Once they get and refine their team to be suited around Holland,
I think that's impossible. I'm gonna go ahead and go online and say it's just because Pep's system is bigger than the whole team, and his system doesn't allow for that 1 point. I mean, it does. Obviously, you see Holland scored all those goals, but it requires the whole team to be feeding Holland, and that's not as fluid as Pep's system usually is, where you have the outside wingers who are your most dangerous, and then you have your midfielders playing these balls. Like now, all you have to do is guard Holland. And then you Grealish, Bernardo, all those boys are stuck. So I'm real interested to see where this goes. But shoot, I've already got the name for this podcast right now, or this episode. It's Coaching is Everything. Yeah. But we got to get out of here. I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate the invite.
Definitely. Anytime you want to talk shop, because Man U's in the news right now, and Rashford, we'll see how it goes. Come through, bro. Yeah, definitely come through.
Appreciate the time. Thank you guys for the invite.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe down here, the YouTube. If you're listening on any podcast system, find us on social media. We're on Instagram, Eat Pray Ball, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. We're everywhere. We will catch you on the next one. It's the EPB podcast. We out.